Mr. M, mysterious Omega-level mutant origin explored. In a world where things are constantly evolving, there are a variety of species that are continually changing too. In the Marvel universe, also, there exists a large number of mutants that walk the Earth and the multiverse. Though all mutants have some form of power, some of them wield a higher order of power and can be considered as Omega-level mutants. One such mutant, Mr. M, was created by David Hine and David Yardin and debuted in District X No. 2. Mr. M dons a black suit and a hat and has the ability to manipulate energy and matter. With his unfathomable talents, he remains one of the most powerful mutants on planet Earth, and his reappearance has the potential to kickstart a new course of events in the Marvel universe. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Mr. M, tragic origin. Mr. M is also known as Absalon McCattle. He initially discovered his mutant abilities in his hometown, Belgium, when he murdered a kid who was tormenting his cousin Reuben. He turned the kid's skin inside out and left him to die in this state for almost 3 days. After such a terrifying incident, he was sent away to the United States, where he lived with his distant relatives. He earned his living by fixing appliances and repairing electronic items, and stayed there as a recluse who stepped out only at night. He lived in isolation and only shared a friendship with another mutant by the name of Hannah Levy. Mr. M's adventures in Mutant Town caused him a lot of trouble, and one such incident involved a shooting incident. It so happens that a young mutant, Toad Boy, gets abducted, and his bodily secretions are sold as designer drugs at a club. Though these secretions did not harm the mutants, it was deadly to all the humans who consumed it. Mr. M looks out for the boy and rescues him and returns him to his mother. At the same time, police officers Izzy and Bishop also try to get to the bottom of things. However, the drug dealer's men find Mr. M first and go after him. As they battle it out, Mr. M morphs his hand into a gunman and ends up killing one of the gang members. Mr. M seeks Hannah's advice, who tells him to approach Izzy. While he tracks her down, Mr. M finds her daughter, Shamira, injured due to a gunshot and performs first aid on the wound and removes the bullet. However, Izzy and Bishop misunderstand his intentions and assume that he was the one who attacked Shamira. Bishop uses his powers to absorb Mr. M's energies, but they are out of control and somehow he manages to flee. Hurt by the incidents that took place, Mr. M is now determined to destroy the mutant town. He runs into Izzy and Bishop yet again, only this time he gets tricked by Lara the illusionist into believing that he indeed needed to destroy the town. Feeling guilty of things that he never did, he turns himself in. After a while, the charges against Mr. M were cleared and he was free once again. However, his bliss doesn't last for long, as he is attacked and shot in the head soon after. Though his powers helped him to survive the shot, Mr. M had to spend quite a while recovering from this ordeal. After the disaster, Mr. M was one of the selected 198 mutants who managed to retain their powers. He makes his way to the Xavier Institute and ends up on ONE's watch list, as they view him as a threat. The other mutants consider him a savior, and Mr. M also got into a relationship with Lorelei Travis after he helped her restore her hair. While the X-Men and ONE are determined to make the mutants stay, Absalon decides to leave with the 198 mutants. He leads the mutants to an island where they find themselves face to face with the X-Men yet again. They try to convince them to return to Xavier's Institute when Cyclops gets attacked by a mind-controlled Urg. Not one to stay down, Cyclops retaliated, and Mr. M announced that he would make sure to protect all his followers who stayed on the island. However, under General Laser's instructions, Johnny D utilized his voodoo dolls to strip Absalon of his powers and then use magma to get rid of Mr. M. As night falls, Lorelei and Leech sit by Mr. M's coffin to watch over it. However, they wake up to find his body missing, and they gather the 198 to inform them of the events of last night. Mr. M does not make an appearance, but he does send them a message asking them to move on without mourning for him. He declares that some things don't die. they evolve, signifying that he has used his abilities to reincarnate in a form stronger than ever. Later we learn that Absalom made a trip to the otherworld and took control of one of its regions, renaming them after his own self. He vowed to keep these provinces secure and even close them off to any outsiders. When the nation of Krakoa was founded, Omega-level mutants were one of its pillars. Though the majority of them embraced Krakoa, Absalom remained one of the very few mutants who stayed away. He was soon located by the Krakoans during an X of Swords competition in the otherworld where Mr. X resided. Later, Abigail Brand also tried to establish contact with Mr. M to take over the leading work of Fabian Cortez in the Six, a division under SWORD that worked with mutant technology. However, Mr. M stayed away from engaging in any such activities and continues to be a mysterious, all-powerful mutant. Things you should know about Mr. M. Though Mr. M is in the jewel pool of top-tier Omega mutants with powers beyond imagination, he keeps himself in check and does not use his powers excessively. He ventures out only in the dark, when there aren't many people around, making sure he does not cause any unintended harm due to his immense power. He wields a lot of power over other mutants and has the ability to activate or take away their powers. Mr. M is also one of the very few beings who can change his own physiology and keeps evolving themselves by manipulating the subatomic particles within his body. These alterations make him stronger, as he can give himself endless powers such as telepathy, superhuman durability, and so on. Mr. M also stands among the very few mutants who could still keep their powers after the menace that was caused during the House of M. What makes Mr. M Omega-level mutant? More than anything else, Mr. M's ability to warp reality to any degree is what makes him an Omega mutant. He can manipulate it to any extent, making him quite untouchable. Additionally, he can even wield and control the inner workings of complex heavy machines, generate force fields at will to shield himself from his opponents, and create or evolve both himself and other living beings around him. He also has control over the other mutants and can expand or diminish their X-factors. Mr. M's innumerable powers makes him almost omnipotent, as he can even regenerate and heal himself, manipulate and even generate energies such as heat, electricity, or even nuclear energy. Most of all, he has superhuman durability and can evolve himself exponentially, which makes him quite undefeatable. Mr. M's ability to defeat some mutants, notably Vulcan, has been widely debated. However, it is clear that Mr. M is significantly more stronger and far more powerful than Vulcan. Though the Vulcan can control energy and is known for being violent, Mr. M has the power to increase his strength in the face of competition, which makes him the superior mutant. In retrospect, if we were to discuss mutants who can defeat Mr. M, we would place our best bets on Hyperstorm and Franklin Richards. Conclusion. To wrap it up, Mr. M is definitely one heck of an Omega mutant who carries tremendous power. He also certainly has had his fair share of adventures and has led quite an interesting life. If he ever decides to re-enter the field, we can certainly look forward to a lot of chaos in the Marvel Universe. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already done so. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.